I researched the best diets for captive crested geckos, and the results are interesting. We've got a problem in reptile keeping. There are so many different diets, all claiming to be the best one for crested geckos. Now, we know that crested geckos are going to live, survive, and even go on to breed on these commercial diets. But do we know how to use these diets and optimally feed them and maximize our success? And how do we know which one is better than the other? Well, research on this topic is scarce, but there is something available, so let's dive into it. A recent study was done that split crested geckos into two groups. One was given dubia roaches and papaya, and one was given a commercial Pangea diet. One group was given Pangea at 2 grams each time they feed them, and the other was given 1 gram of roaches and 1 gram of papaya. So both groups were getting 2 grams of food each feeding. Over the course of the coming weeks, the crested geckos given the roach and papaya diet grew significantly more than those on the captive commercial diet. The ones on roaches and papaya grew by 24%, and the ones on the commercial Pangea diet grew by 13%. The diet that contained roaches and papaya was significantly more nutrient dense than the commercial diet. In fact, there was a 55% increase in protein in the insect diet compared to the commercial diet. And there was also 11% more fat. Although the study didn't actually calculate the calories that were being offered, one might assume that because one is more nutrient dense in terms of protein and fiber and fat, that you might say it's got more calories. I think that logic would make a lot of sense. And we know that protein is needed for a juvenile animal to grow really well. So that makes sense that the one with more protein caused more growth. Now, of course, you can just feed your powdered commercial diet and your crested gecko will survive and it will grow. And this study shows it by showing an onward 13% in growth in those crested geckos. However, the inclusion of roaches and insects in the diet would be very, very advantageous to the development and growth of that crested gecko. Another study compared Pangea watermelon commercial diet with Pangea fruit mix with complete insects, and the crested geckos in that study grew more on the insect diet too. Another study compared the growth of gargoyle geckos on commercial diets, and they found that the ones with higher protein amounts, even if it was things like whey protein and not insect and animal based, grew more than ones with lower protein. But again, even those ones with less protein still grew, just at a reduced rate. So do you have to feed them bugs? Well, no, you can just give them a commercial powdered diet. We know that from what we've done in herpetoculture of people keeping their pets very successfully without even giving them bugs. But also people are breeding them as well, and that increased caloric need to breed is still being sustained on the commercial diets. However, if you're totally against ever touching a physical bug, pick a diet that does contain insect matter in that commercial diet. So if you're going to feed a powder, make sure it's got some insects in it. And I think that's the best you're going to get there. Do you have to feed them real fruits? Well, I don't think you have to feed them real fruits. There's definitely going to be fruit components in the commercial diet. This commercial diet is going to be your baseline foundation, nutritionally complete in terms of all the nutrition, so they're not going to get insufficient in anything. But if you add things on top of that, like real fruit, it's only going to be enriching and more food for them. What I would do is use a commercial powdered diet. This one I've got right next to me here is Pangea Growth and Breeding. Now, I'm not necessarily going to say you need to use one brand's one over the other, but if you're going to use a commercial diet, I would also bring in insects as well. Then you're covering your basis and you're getting good growth out of that developing animal. In terms of which commercial diet is better than the other, well, there's been very, very few studies actually comparing one to the other. So it's kind of just up in the air, really. I would look at the ingredients, make sure they're like whole, real ingredients. Go for things like black soldier fly larvae as the protein rather than just like things like whey protein. I would go for real fruits and go for things that have got real good ingredients and not fillers like bran or soy and things that are just filler. Some of this research is 5 years old now, and the actual market has moved on to including better ingredients and things like black soldier fly larvae and not just whey protein and byproduct to increase protein. So The current landscape is different from the literature now because the literature is lagging behind. So there is a paucity of information out there. So the best thing you can do is use a commercial diet that looks to have good ingredients, that is used by many people who give it good reviews, and bring in some real fruit now and again and some real insects. And that is going to be the best of both worlds. You might think it's stating the obvious to say give them a commercial diet and then give them some insects now and again, but it is nice to look back at the core reasons as to why and build up your own understanding by looking at research rather than just common things being said. Now you know for certain what you want to do because you've seen the research. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.